Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and in today's video we're going to be covering the topic of Bungie might actually delete some of the light-based subclasses from the game. Yes, you heard me right. In an interview with Luke Smith from Polygon, the topic was brought up about how Stasis offers so much more customizability over the light-based subclasses. Now, I'll save you the time and you don't have to read the entirety of this article because Luke Smith actually posted on Reddit in regards to this topic. He says right here, headlines. On a long enough time horizon, it sure would be sweet to have all of the supers in Destiny use the same system. The Stasis system is very cool and we like it. It's got more agency, flexibility, and freedom than the Destiny 2 and Forsaken system with their interlocked perks. Feels more like D1 in terms of agency. I like that much more. From a thematic/creative perspective, it sure would be sweet if the classes had strong gameplay identities instead of some of the homogeny that has steadily emerged. No plans to look at class homogeny right now, there are many other things to focus on. Simply put, the Stasis customizability is just simply better than the light-based subclasses right now. And it reminds me honestly of like D1 customizability, where you had so many more options. But honestly, even still, D1's customizability was even more than the Stasis, which is something that people have addressed and talked about and the community has wanted to go back to for a very long time now. But Bungie has stuck to their guns and kept the subclasses the way they are until this point in time because it offers better balance. And while this is all very interesting and I love to peek into the minds of the Bungie devs, one part that is extremely scary with this is this quote here from Luke Smith, where he says, "It's much easier for me to look at Nova Bomb and say Nova Bomb is like IP defining," said Smith. "It's an IP defining super, get rid of Nova Warp." But in this case, Smith is talking about a classic Warlock ability, Nova Bomb, and comparing it to a mediocre PvP-only super, Nova Warp. Cutting Nova Warp might hurt some fans, but it's generally pretty safe. More people like Nova Bomb than Nova Warp. For other subclasses though, the decision wouldn't be as easy. Which is absolutely crazy to hear in my opinion. Saying that Nova Bomb is more IP defining than Nova Warp, and therefore we should get rid of Nova Warp, is absolutely insane to me. Here's a better idea. Why not just buff Nova Warp? It says in the article here that it's primarily a PvP only super, which is true because Warlocks have Well of Radiance, which is just so strong. But you could easily balance this out and create Nova Warp for PvE purposes. Deleting Nova Warp or sunsetting Nova Warp because it's not as popular as Nova Bomb just seems so wild to me. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree with my opinion. If you don't, that's totally fine. I completely respect if you have a difference of opinion. But I can't help but feel like Bungie is like completely gutting this game. And for what purpose? If Nova Warp was an issue in any sort of way and needs to be removed because it's not as popular as Nova Bomb, then why even introduce Stasis in the first place? All you did was just add more to the plate and made it way more convoluted than it needed to be. And Stasis, from a community perspective, has so much more backlash due to its freezing ability inside Crucible. If Beyond Light instead offered a giant overhaul of all the subclasses, turning them into this sort of D1 model, I honestly would have been 100 times more excited for Beyond Light with this model for every subclass than I would with Stasis. And I feel like, and I'm not trying to call out Bungie too hard here, but if they can't create a subclass tree like this with Nova Bomb and Nova Warp, I don't understand how they can't do that. Look at the Sunsinger class from D1. This had self-res and the option of Radiance. It had essentially two different supers within the same subclass. And now I understand the balance might be difficult, and maybe it won't even be an option at all because it might be too difficult. And if that's the case, okay, I'm fine with that. But for the love of the Traveler, don't sunset supers. Don't sunset subclasses. Don't delete Nova Warp or any other unpopular subclasses from the game. That would be, in my opinion, truly a terrible idea, and let me know in the comment section below if you agree at all. The reason why I say this is not because I love Nova Warp so much, that's my favorite super, I use it all the time. I never use Nova Warp, because Nova Warp is extremely imbalanced compared to the other classes. Nova Warp needs a buff, and it's up to Bungie and the Sandbox team to give Nova Warp the proper buff, not delete it, and not to mention, think about this, if this applies to Nova Warp, what other classes will it apply to? Which tree of Sentinel will get sunset? Which tree of Striker, Hammer, Golden Gun, Blade Barrage, Spectral, Arcstrider, Tether, Stormcaller, Chaos Reach, you name it, which classes are going to get deleted? Which ones are the most unpopular? And more importantly, just imagine how upset certain people will be that actually do like those classes. Like imagine if you identify in Destiny 2 as the middle tree Hammer, which is probably the least popular option. Well, when your subclass gets deleted from the game, I can't imagine you're going to want to play the game very much more. So please, Bungie, don't divide the community anymore. Don't delete subclasses. And that's my entire thoughts on this topic. Make sure to subscribe with notifications on if you want to stay up to date on all the news of Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.